traders that fully understand themselves the most are the most successful. If my uncle didn't do this, there is no way I would have found my way to this industry.
What type of returns has he got over the years?
I've seen him turn a $5,000 account into $1 million.
What do you think about AI in trading?
I think the human aspect of it still has that edge versus the AI version. The pandemic, that's where a lot of people got into trading, actually.
Yeah.
It was so easy to trade during the pandemic that when market conditions changed, everyone was like losing everything they've made. And they're like, what happened? I never blew an account, so that's one thing where the whole industry is like, they don't believe it. They're like, no way did she ever not lose all her money. The most successful traders are the most aware.
Victoria Duke, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So you're a futures trader who just moved to Nashville. You have a very successful coaching program with over 1,000 students. You've been doing it for 9 years, learn from your uncle. What's the difference between Forex and futures?
So Forex is currencies. It's a lot harder to find a Forex broker to trade on that's regulated in the U.S., so it's got a little bit of a negative connotation to it. Futures trading feels a lot more, professional. We're futures traders. We've got regulated brokers here in the U.S. We're trading things like gold and silver.
Yeah. So, with trading, you're not looking for like the long-term investment. You're like trading fast, I would guess you would say.
Yeah. The beginning of my trading career started in the 5-minute time frame. So I was in and out many trades within the day. But now I've kind of migrated to this swing trading. So I'm holding for like a week. It's not the bigger picture, like the long-term investment, but it's a little bit longer.
And you started with your uncle. Kind of tell us how that got started.
I would say if my uncle didn't do this, there is no way I would have found my way to this industry. He is a day trader and taught me. I always knew what he did, but it was like I saw his lifestyle. He was always home. If we ever went on like family trips, my uncle was taking us to, like, even the nieces and first cousins, second cousins. Like he was taking the family. So I knew he did something that was a little bit different than what most people do in my family. And one of which was day trading. So he also owned like an alarm business. He did some online e-commerce businesses. He's a heavy entrepreneur and a lot of real estate. So I just knew something he did was different. And when I finally had the opportunity to learn just one portion of it, which is interesting, I just happened to get lucky that he taught me the trading aspect. He could have taught me about real estate. He could have taught me about the e-commerce business. But it was just the stars aligned. And he was like, you know what? I want to be able to teach other people how to trade. So let me teach you. We'll record it. And that was my opportunity to learn how to trade.
Nice. Now, how did he get his start in trading?
He was self-taught. When I hear his story, it was a tough one. Anybody doing anything self-taught, I feel like you just go through all of the trials and tribulations. You know what I'm saying? Everything is just trial and error. You got to figure out what works, what doesn't. There is a plethora of information out there. When he got into trading, it's a little bit outside of my realm. Like, I think he had to make phone calls and, get like letters in, making sure that he was in a position. And then he's been doing it for so long that now he's migrated to where he just does it from his phone now.
Wow.
But he told me lots of stories on a lot of losses he's taken, his struggles to find a strategy that works for him. And he said that he's tried it all, indicators, fundamentals, like learn about how if like earnings reports are coming in, how can he tie that into a good trade? Or different indicators, strategies, books, psychology. He said he went full circle and then brought it all back to a very elementary strategy, which is just trend lines.
Did he have a mentor teaching him?
No. He was solo.
Wow.
Books. I think it was just a lot of books and a lot of trial and error and just research on his own. Yeah,
I guess it kind of shows that, no matter what you're doing, if you put the time into it and really want the knowledge, you'll go out and figure it out. I think, today, I know you're teaching, there's a lot more opportunities for people to actually learn to, get wealthy or make a living, doing things like that.
Yeah.
So, with your uncle, when you started with him, what was the process? Did he have a system? What was that like?
Yeah, it felt, I'm sure he had a system, but I was just along for the ride. It was, Oh, it was so much fun. It was the coolest thing getting to learn from him. So I also got to learn with my sister. So both of us would sit down. We would try to have like structured days where we would sit down just like this, and he would kind of go through some spreadsheets that he had, and he'd be like, okay, read this line here. And we would talk. It all started with psychology though. So I think that was his premise. We didn't even look at charts until like 2 to 3 weeks in.
Okay.
Like we're just talking about mindset, psychology, understanding what it's like to be a loser and how that goes against everything and like human nature where you just want to avoid that at all costs. And so he was heavy on psychology the very beginning. A lot of analogies, 100 different analogies talking about associating trading with like cooking and medieval times and like so just so many different analogies where he tried every angle to make sure that we fully understood the mindset that we have to be in before we even started looking at charts.
And what did he do for the psychology training? Did he have you like read books, or what was that like?
So at the very beginning, I'm talking very beginning, first few things trading related wise, he was like, okay, everything that I'm going to tell you is all you need to know. So he actually advised against doing our own research.
Okay.
Because I think he maybe thought it was like polluted, like
Sure.
the information out there is, he understood that most of what people are doing isn't working because of the statistics for people that actually make it in trading. So he's like, I want you to think completely different than everyone else. So the first thing he said was, everything I'm going to teach you, while we're learning this is all you need to know. You don't need to go out and do any other research. So he didn't even recommend any books. It was purely just taking every bit of information that he had to give.
Wow. And so after 2 or 3 weeks, he started teaching you how to trade. What was the first thing that he taught you?
The LOC.
What's that?
And it was the line of change.
Okay.
And that was essentially the trend line. And it was looking at the charts, and he had them as naked as possible. We were just looking at what the price had done on like a blank canvas. There was no noise. It was the cleanest chart I've ever seen. And he threw one line on there. He was like, this is an LOC, line of change. And then he also said it's the LOT and the LOD, the line of truth, the line of death, like all of these things. It's so heavy. It was very cool. I love going back and being able to like reminisce on this. But it was just a trend line. That was the very first thing he taught me.
And so, when he showed you the first line of what was it?
Line of change.
Line of change. Sorry, I was thinking LOT, LOD, LOC.
I know, yeah.
When he showed you the first line of change, did it click with you, or was it something that was like, what's kind of going through your mind as you're starting to learn this?
He made it tangible. He made it understandable. He would, before the line of change, I take that back. Before the line of change, he showed me just a plain chart, and he asked me, what direction does this look like it's going in? So we would just look at a screen and I'd be like, okay, looks like it's going up. He'd be like, overall, which way? And I said, up, okay. And then he'd show me another one. I'd be like, okay, overall up. And he'd show me another one, overall down. And then, the trickier ones when it was kind of not really having a direction,
Sure.
It was sideways. So I guess figuring out the overall direction was first and foremost. But then when he threw the line on there, it still didn't seem intimidating. He was like, okay, throwing a line on there. This looks like geography. I'll take it. Cool. And very tangible.
And so what were you doing at the time when you started learning this?
I was cycling. So I wanted to be a professional athlete.
And so you were doing cycling, and what were you doing to make money?
So I was learning how to code websites. My uncle also gave me the opportunity to work for him. So as he's teaching me, he's like, all right, now I'm going to teach you how to trade, but I need you to, he had me take some courses online to learn how to code, learn about Google Ads, marketing. So he was essentially building like this little empire. He's like, okay, if you know how to build the website, and so I had to learn, so many different things simultaneously. So he was paying me to do that. And he would even pay me to learn how to code. So I would clock in the hours and I'd be watching these videos, doing these workbooks, and I had the opportunity to learn and be paid to learn to do that too.
And so, when you started, did you start with, I'm going to call it a fake account. There's probably a term in it.
Oh, SIM.
A SIM, yeah. So you had a SIM account. When did you actually start doing your trading on the SIM account?
I would say very shortly after, like maybe I'd say a few weeks after, maybe month 1 of learning, we opened a SIM account and we got to see what it was like to actually hit the buy button, hit the sell button, see as, you know, the price progresses. It was fascinating.
And when did you start, seeing that you could make money doing it? Like, how quickly did it take you to be kind of successful at it?
That was a long journey. So, at least sim trading wise, I could see it. It was the coolest thing. It's like you unlocked something in my brain. It's like, oh my gosh, this can be real. Like I'm just hitting buttons and I can see, you know, profit and loss go up and down. But it's completely different when you actually start putting real money on the line.
Sure.
Things sting a little bit more. You're a little bit more hesitant. But sim trading, I did it for a year.
Okay.
My uncle made sure, also when he taught me, he was like, okay, everyone wants to go in and immediately start making money. Immediately. And he asked me if I wanted to do that. And I was like, of course. And he's like, no, we're not going to do that. So nice try. So I had to simulate for a year. And that is an incredible amount of discipline because everybody wants to just see the opportunity that it could actually do for you. You just want to put a little bit of money in.
Sure.
So it was sim trading for the first year. And it wasn't until year 3 to almost 4 that I actually was able to consistently bring in profits with live money. I
see. And so that first year, how did you do overall?
It was sporadic. It was all over the place. None of it was tracked. I remember I tried to do I had like ledger cards that I tried to write trades on, and I wasn't consistent as far as keeping track of it all. But it was a blast.
Yeah. You had a good time. So year 2, you start trading with real money. How much money did you put in?
Only $5,000.
$5,000. Okay.
Well, I say only. A lot of people I'm coming to find, since I've got more of a following and I can actually kind of see as a whole the community and how everyone gets into trading. And my story is a lot different than how everyone else gets into trading. Most people want to get in with around like $500.
Okay.
And it's fair, but since that's just so far from the way that I made it, it seems so much harder to grow a $500 account. Whereas $5,000, that was just enough of a buffer, and it was also at the time the minimum to start a futures account.
Okay, and so you started trading futures. How did you do that second year?
The second year was no progress whatsoever. I never blew an account, so that's one thing where the whole industry is like, they don't believe it. They're like, no way did she ever not lose all her money. And it makes total sense when my uncle was my mentor.
Sure.
Like, first things first, after, you know, learning the LOC and learning, you know, what direction is this going in. Psychology-wise, the first thing we learned was to protect our capital, keep our capital. That was before we even started looking at charts. He was like, that is the name of the game here. And in order to protect your capital, it actually involves paying little fees. It's like paying your way out of trouble. So I already understood that concept completely and fully. I never was going to put it all on the line for one trade. So my risk management, psychology-wise, was way ahead of my time. So it's hard for the community to understand that I never took an account to zero, but no progress.
When you say paying your fees, what does that mean?
It's taking a loss. He changed it. So instead of calling it a loss, we just considered it a fee.
Okay, so a loss is a fee, and you pay your fees every now and then. But I guess the idea is that you don't want to pay too high a fee, so you don't risk blowing your account.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, and so how have you built that up? You know, year 3, year 4. How did you start building that?
It was a lot of same exact strategy. So the strategies never changed, which is cool. But so you can understand it's heavy psychology wise, holding winners, not letting losses affect you. So a lot of struggle in that sense. And I was in a position where for most of my trading career, I compared myself to my uncle. And like, that makes no sense. God, I wish I'd had somebody else to compare to. Right. Someone just a little bit, scaled down. So I was so ambitious and like I wanted to get so far so quick. And I think that hindered me a lot. Like I was holding positions just wanting to like catch a massive move and be like, okay, this is what my uncle's doing. And I ended up most of the time just giving it back. So slowly, like things started to change in my psychology and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to try to collect these small winners. And that snowballs and that continues. And yes, there'd be times where I'd be like, okay, I think I can hold this one, or, psychology would get in the way and I'd get a little bit greedy. But for the most part, it's just stacking up those small wins.
Yeah. And how have the returns been since you started? Like, overall, where are you at?
We're doing incredible now. Now my percentages are a little bit uncomprehendable, I guess. I mean, maybe for most. So I was able to.
I've been in Bitcoin for a long time.
Oh, so. Okay. Then you know. Okay, yes. The crypto world, you can flip stuff like nobody's business. Yeah. Okay, yes. In the future space and the day trading space and the long-term investment space, those numbers are just hard to grasp. But this year and last year so far, I've been able to make. Last year I made, I think, it's something wild like 300%, maybe 400%. Wow. And then this year I was able to turn my 100K account into 200K in just 6 trades. So like I feel like the maturity level of a trader, like I'm finally seeing just such a transformation.
Yeah. So, with that, and I don't know the field, so forgive my ignorance on that.
Oh no.
But, in your teaching, so are people skeptical of, your abilities to teach and what's that like?
Yeah. And that's one of the hardest things in the industry. And it's a very scammy, it's a scammy space. Mm-hmm. And I get it. And it's a bummer. I wish that there wasn't such a negative connotation when you say that you're an educator in the space. And, but there is. And people are like, if you don't, if those who can't teach. And I'm like, that's not the case. I'm sorry. It's not. I'm actually just, I have a way with connecting with students and I enjoy it. But there's something weird to where the community has convinced me that it's not a good thing to do. So that's some things that I'm absolutely still struggling with.
I see. The psychology aspect, I mean, it's important obviously for trading as you're talking about, but it's important in life too.
Oh my gosh, yes. It reflects in life tenfold.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I think that's helped me be successful is wrestling in junior high and high school, and I got a scholarship to wrestle in college too. Didn't wrestle much in college. But you learn to lose. You're going to lose.
Yeah.
And, it's just basically you versus the other person. You can't blame anybody else. You can't be a victim to, maybe you could say the ref screwed you some way. But, it's like it's you and the other person. And you have to learn to lose and not let it affect everything. Kind of how has that played a role in what you're doing with in the psychology aspect of trading?
Yeah, that sounded like word for word, to be honest. Word for word. You cannot blame anyone else. Like there's the factors are just you. And the likelihood of it being a loss is high. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. It's just a matter of, I think the most successful traders are the most aware traders, like self-aware. Like they can regulate their emotions. They understand, as soon as something's coming up, they're feeling it, whether they need to sit in it, to act on it, to put some coping strategies in place. I think the traders that fully understand themselves the most are the most successful.
Yeah. What do you think, for people going into trading, let's say, like for me, I don't know anything about trading. I dollar cost average every week in crypto and have for a long time.
Dude, I'm so stoked to get into crypto this year, by the way.
Oh yeah,
we'll be.
we'll chat about that. But like someone wants to get involved in futures trading.
Okay.
Where do they start?
I would say it is. I always want to say psychology first. Like I think it truly starts with expectations, the correct expectations. Because if someone is gonna If they want to get into trading and they want results next month, they're not going to make it. So the trader that can come in with the correct expectations, knowing, okay, I'm probably going to have to commit like 3 years to this. 3 years. And there's going to be losses along the way too. That trader that understands that first and foremost, they're probably going to make it. But I would say, as far as maybe the trader that already understands that concept, it's a matter of mastering psychology first, mastering yourself first, and then getting into a strategy. There's so many different strategies. So that's the hardest part to say, where do you start? Mm-hmm. I would say it could just simply start with understanding the futures market as a whole and understanding how to read a chart. I would say download TradingView. It's the app. And just learn how to navigate it. Look at a chart, and then look at it every day. See how price populates. I think that's a great start. But since there are so many different strategies out there, it's hard to just be like, here, do this, A, B, C, D, and then you'll make it.
What is futures trading? So for people that don't know, like what does that encompass?
So I started with the stock market, and that was the easiest concept to grasp. Mm-hmm. You buy a share of a company, and then when you're ready, you sell that share. So it's an easy concept to grasp. You're buying one share, you're selling one share. When you get in, your one share costs the amount of what it's trading at. Futures trading is a little bit different. So it's contract based, But you're essentially like, let's say corn, for example, you're kind of betting on how corn is going to be doing, the crops are going to be doing in the future. So, but my strategy is it doesn't involve any fundamental research. So it's purely just price action. So I'm looking at the charts. But for the most part, that's what the futures market is. And there's going to be expiration dates. So you're trading a certain contract. And actually, most of the futures trading contracts just expired just a few days ago.
Okay.
So everyone's having to switch over to the new contracts. But it's not something similar to options, which have you heard of options before?
Yes.
Options trading? That is like a foreign language to me. That one's tricky. And that one also trades in contracts, but it's a different kind of contracts. So it's more like there's time decay and theta and beta. These are words that I just so happen to know, but know nothing about.
Right.
But as far as futures trading, I like to look at the contracts as similar to shares as I can. So one contract has a set amount. It's going to cost you either $600 to buy a contract, and you can either buy 1 to X amount, however many. So that was the easiest way to make the connection, was if I can consider a contract similar to a share, it's very similar, everything after that.
Wow. So, with futures trading, you're not looking at, a year, 2 years. You're just going off of the chart, what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Let's say. Do you look at anything, long term? Are you kind of learning more in your investment strategy to start doing some of those things?
I can't wait to be able to get a little bit more long term, and I think the higher time frames that I move up as I continue this journey, it makes me feel like a more professional, more dignified. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but just I feel like I'm leveling up as a trader the higher time frame that I get into. But when I'm doing my trades and I'm doing my chart analysis, I do want to look at the overall picture, the big picture, but it's more so to see what it did in the past. So like, let's say I want to trade corn for the first time. I want to look at it's called the continuous contract. So you get to see, from the start, corn has been on the market to today, you get to see what it's done overall. So I want to see like as much data as I can. So, and it just starts with same thing my uncle was showing me. He showed me a chart. He said, okay, overall, is this up or down?
Right.
So that was the first thing. Is it up or down? So I'll throw some trend lines on there. And then you start kind of zooming in more and more and more and more and more until you get to the time frame that you want to trade. So I used to stop at the 5-minute time frame. So I used to be like real zoomed in with the magnifying glass. But now I just stay at the 4-hour time frame. So now I'm just concerned about what the price of corn is doing within 4 hours of each candle.
Well, what does your uncle look at? Like
he's still, to be honest, he might be all over the place.
Okay.
I think he might kind of bounce between the 1 hour and the 5-minute.
Okay. And what type of returns has he got over the years? Like what's he looking at?
I don't know his exact numbers, but I can tell you I've seen him turn a $5,000 account into $1 million.
Wow.
And that's the coolest thing. And I don't know how many times he's done that. And I don't know what other accounts he has, but that was one that I saw. And I even remember when he first showed me how to trade, and me and my sister were, we got to kind of like look over his shoulder at his trades. And when we would see some of the account balances, we were like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what? We didn't even know. We would laugh like to each other and be like, are you serious? That's crazy.
Yeah. And so with it, is it short-term capital gains every time you turn a profit?
Yes, for the stock market, but futures market actually has a little bit of a benefit. I believe it's like there's a 30%. My tax guy knows better than I do, but there is some sort of a tax break when it comes to futures trading versus that short-term capital gain that you get with the stock market.
I mean, that's another thing that I'm sure people get in trouble with is not keeping up with their
oh
taxes
my God,
on
yes.
that.
Just know the right guy. I think that is my best advice. I don't know much about it. I'm not a tax person. I don't know the best way to go about it, but if you hire the right person who does know.
Yeah, finding the right person is so hard.
Fair.
I mean, I've been through, I don't know how many accountants over the years.
Yeah.
And you think that a CPA knows how to save you money on taxes but they don't. They're actually going for the safest bet.
Oh my God,
They're not
yes.
into actually saving you money. And, as you get more wealthy, your tax bill it's my biggest expense right now.
Oh yeah.
And so, I know like for crypto, we've had to go back and even change some things because it was a little ambiguous for a while too, as far as what, how is it taxed and those type of things. But I know people, with any business, you get in trouble with the taxes and you got to find the right guy and then you got to keep digging to find the right person to find the right offsets you can.
True. And I bet CPAs probably hate like day traders. They're probably like, this is the sketchiest thing you could possibly get into.
Sure.
It's gambly. Like, I feel like that is so anti what CPAs are taught, to be honest.
Yeah, they don't like anything. I remember I had a tax accountant here for a while, and he's like, and it was almost like he wasn't looking for any type of savings, but he's like a country guy. Wow, that's a lot of tax. I'll never forget him saying, that's a lot of, I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of tax.
No.
You know, I want you to shrink it somehow. But yeah, so you're talking about getting into crypto. What's the plans with that?
I've always been so intimidated. When my uncle taught me how to trade, and we're like a few years in, and I'm finally like kind of getting a handle on like the trading world, and I'm looking into Forex. What is Forex? And I'm like, Uncle Mike, why don't you trade Forex? Look at all these dudes making so much money in Forex. And he's like, I'm not concerned. I'm like, what about crypto? Look at all this stuff. And he's like, I'm not concerned. And I'm like, oh, frustrating, because I wanted to get into it because it's all the hype. It's the fad right now. But I never did. And years later, I would always be fascinated about it. I'd look at it. But it looked like something that was incredibly difficult to day trade. Is it possible? I mean, do you have any experience day trading crypto? No.
I'm whenever I try to pick the right coin for to make a quick buck, I lose. So I don't even look at it every Wednesday. I make my investment automatically, dollar cost average, and I celebrate when crypto goes down though, because I believe because all I have really is 90% is in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the other 10% is in a couple other, I'll call them higher risk coins.
Okay.
But when Bitcoin goes down, I'm like, yes.
Okay.
I can buy more at a better, at a cheaper price.
I mean, most of the people that I know that are into crypto are saying the same thing that you are.
Yeah.
People aren't like, they're not the panicked ones. It's just the ones that are maybe like, that don't have as much experience, or maybe put too much than they were willing to bargain into it. But that's the same thing I'm hearing.
Well, yeah, I was arguing with ChatGPT a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, basically, I think people look at crypto as like a volatile market. Oh, it's volatile. I'm like, it's the most consistent. If you look over a 10-year period, you can pretty much tell what it's going to do over a time frame, not necessarily on the day. That's why I don't try to make buys when at certain times. I'm like, just consistent. I know that if I do that, especially with what I believe, like Bitcoin can be, that it's going to go up long term. But I don't do I don't do day trading by any. I try. I've lost a lot of money when I thought I could go and make money doing this quick.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's not that smart.
Yeah, and it's never that easy.
No, I'm sure. Well, like you look at you. You have an education with it. Did you go to college?
I attempted.
Yeah.
I went to FSCJ, but never finished.
Yeah, I didn't either. So I can imagine 3 years of training, that's like a college education.
Truly.
And so, what do you think? Like a lot of people right now, if you look at how expensive college is with student loans and all of these things, I feel like for a lot of people, college seems to be a waste.
I feel like I agree with you on that one. I mean, it's a bummer thing to say because it's so like anti what everyone does. Sure. Like it's been ingrained into everyone's brain. Like you just go. And maybe for some kids it's better because if they weren't, who knows what they'd be doing.
Right.
So maybe continuing that structure is good for some people.
Right.
But as an entrepreneur, I'm sure I had my fair of college tuition that got paid and things that didn't work out or losses in the market. But I think the benefits that I've reaped so far from not taking the college route, because first of all, when you go to college, I don't think anyone knows what they actually want to do. So then they do, how many years. I changed up only in the one semester that I was in. I changed it up 3 times. I was like, okay, you know what? No, I want to do physical therapy. No, I want to do special education. Oh my gosh. Whereas as an entrepreneur, you can actually try each one of those things. Yeah. And then one of them's going to pop off. Or maybe you learn how to do 3 of those things wrong and then do this one better. And now you can go back. So it's just, there's so much more opportunity being an entrepreneur than taking the college route.
No, absolutely. And, if you're like in the STEM fields or something like that, it makes sense. Being an engineer, doctor, lawyer, all that makes sense. But some of the degrees, are just, outrageous.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurship, it's definitely the way to go if you actually want to make some money.
Yeah.
There's risk to it. But even plumbers, if you want to be a plumber, you can go get the training. You're getting paid while you're getting the training as you're an apprentice.
Yeah.
And you work your way up. And then, if you want to learn business on the side and do your own studying,
exactly.
It's pretty easy to go out and make a tremendous living. There's a lot of, fields like that in construction where, I mean, in Nashville,
true.
the construction market is like, I mean, there's buildings popping up everywhere. We can't find enough people around here.
I'm getting excited about that.
Yeah. Are you?
I mean, a little bit discouraged too, because I was hoping that I'd be able to get into, the housing market before things took off, but I haven't.
Sure. But well, I mean, there's still a lot of opportunity. I mean, before interest rates drop, they're still pretty high. And
Yeah.
I think we're going to see it just go crazy when they drop the interest rates. Did you buy your house here in Nashville?
No, I'm just renting right now.
Just renting?
But this year was the year that I was like, okay, we're going to finally do it.
Yep.
And just like trading, the real estate industry is like, there is a plethora of information. I'm like, okay, do I take the route where, do I just buy my own home? Or do I take the investment property route? Or do I want to Airbnb? Or do I want to get like a multifamily home? And there are so many different things that I could do, and I'm not sure.
What's your goal with it, though?
I think from the research I've done on like these successful entrepreneurial guys, it's like, they're like infinite baking, and I actually rent the place that I stay in, and I own all of these homes. So I'm like, okay, maybe I don't need to own a home. Maybe I just need to rent. But that seems, it's just all over the place.
Yeah. I got in real estate. I bought my first house when I was 21.
Really?
And, yeah, it was back then. It was a long time ago. No, back then, they had zero interest loans, and it was like an interest only loan. I should say zero interest only loans, where you weren't paying any principal. Let's say you get 4% interest only, and so I bought a house in Antioch. It was like 190,000. Put no money down.
Dude.
They don't do this, and that was a subprime market. It changed a lot, but I mean, I started just investing in real estate. I had a real estate coaching program back in the day here in Nashville.
Nice. Way cool. Okay.
You can buy no money down too. A lot of people don't realize that. Like East Ivy, where we're at right now, 2012, I sold a couple of companies. I was living in Costa Rica for about 6 months, but I had a condo here as well.
Okay.
And I was just kind of waiting to see if something popped up. And my friend sent a picture from here. He was managing this property. And he's like, hey, I'm leasing out the guest house, the property, and the rest of the property. I mean, the pool was green, the ponds were disgusting. I mean, it was bad. And so I came over here, and I was like, oh, this is awesome, though. I mean, obviously the bones of it were great. And I said, well, if you wanted to, make this thing work, you'd have to get a special exception or a zoning change to be able to do events. And so I leased the property at first for the first 6 months. And then I started working on getting the zoning change, which we got a special exception to the city to do 120 events a year.
Nice.
So we did that, but I did a lease purchase with the owner, or a lease option. So he wanted a high price at the time for the property. And I said, well, I'll give you your price, but you got to give me the terms that I want. And so I'll do a 5-year lease with the option to purchase at any time over those 5 years. And so I could see kind of what the market was going to do. Because back then, the 2008 real estate crash was serious. This is 2012, but it hadn't kind of settled yet. We didn't know what was going to happen in the economy. And so he did the deal, and then I had the events basically pay for everything because I was mostly in Mexico. And I exercised my option in 2017 at the price, and it had already appreciated, of course.
Wow.
So it was a good deal. But real estate, there's a lot of opportunity. And my dad basically made his money doing flips and those type of things. He had an accident. We kind of lost everything when I was 4, and it took him about 15 years to battle back.
Really?
But that's what did it. He got one property, rented it, then got another, flipped it, and, and so I love real estate for a kind of a safe investment. If you're doing trading, you're going to make your money doing that, but you might then be able to hit a couple licks.
Right, exactly.
Real estate, and then
the safe route is definitely very appealing to me.
That's good. So, what is your idea here in Nashville? You moved here from Los Angeles. What's the goal?
The goal was real estate first and foremost. My trading had already been doing really well, even in LA. But the goal was real estate, and it was like this best case scenario was going to find like a duplex, and I was going to live in one side and then rent out the other. I was like, okay, this seems like a good idea. And I'm starting to to look into these different, then I looked at a quadplex. I'm like, ooh, well, that's even more appealing.
Yep.
And then I'm trying to do the math as far as like, okay, the average rent in this area though is not quite adding up to what the mortgage would be. So it's just a matter of, I guess, just finding the right one. I'm also trying to figure out, am I ready to find my own place yet? Do I want to buy my own home that I'm going to live in? Or is my start investment, like just to rent out or to Airbnb? And that one sounds a little bit more appealing because making the decision of the house that I actually want to live in sounds like a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, getting a quad or a duplex, it's always nice having somebody else pay your mortgage.
Yeah.
And then make a little
best case scenario
cash on the side.
Right.
So with the trading, what are the goals with the trading? Like, what do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years?
I would say my uncle was a good representation, and my vision, if we took my uncle out of the picture, would be to just mature into this long-term trader, and I'm just holding positions for like months or, a year. But the fact that my uncle is still day trading it kind of changes the perspective. Then it's like, maybe that's not the goal. Maybe it's always to have the opportunity to be able to just get in and make some money. And I remember when I did decide to make this transition to swing trading, which was last year, 2023, I talked to my uncle about it, and he wasn't super, he wasn't fully supportive on it. He was like, if you're holding a trade for a week, do you know how many trades I could capitalize within that week? Because there's movement, whereas there's a possibility you get in at this price and then a week later and it's right back to where it started.
Sure.
And I understood that. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that's true. But the swing trading it worked for me. And it fit, it made sense. And I was seeing tremendous, gains from it.
Yeah.
But he's changed my perspective. That was originally the goal, to just be this long-term investor, but to see my uncle still killing it and just still day trading.
Yeah.
So that might not be the goal. It might not be to just be this long-term trader. I might just continue to do what I'm doing.
What are some of your financial goals with it?
I would say to definitely do the same thing he did, get a 5K account to $1 million. Wild.
Yeah.
I feel like how he managed to do that along with the 100 other things that he does.
Yeah.
I can only do one thing at a time.
Right.
Like my trading, so I've tried to incorporate day trading back into my routine. So 2023, it took me a whole year to figure out swing trading. The higher time frames, the holding trades was excruciating. You would think it would be like more peaceful, like less stress, but having an open trade that you would know. I mean, you're doing this with crypto, like you're doing long term, but it's just the anxiety of having that open trade for days.
Yep.
Like I go to sleep and I wake up, it's still open. It's still the possibility of it being a winner or a loser, and it's every single day. And then by the week, once it's over and you close, you're like, oh my God, okay, the trade is done.
Yeah.
We've closed it. Whereas the day trading, it's just, you're done for the day. You don't even if you took a loss for the day, like it's done, it's closed, it's solidified, it's realized, now you can go about your day. So it seems like it would be the more peaceful, calm swing trading, but I've struggled with it, and maybe I will be. But we'll see. I'm still trying to take that day trading back into swing trading, and it's been fascinating. But going back to the point, sorry, I'm going off track here. But how to do one thing at a time is like I'm still trying to do the swing trading brain and the day trading brain, and those just don't work together.
You can't do the two?
It's so difficult. No, it's very hard. I either have to take a break from swing trading for the month and just day trade, or vice versa. It's very hard to have two brains for that. And then just to understand that my uncle was somehow able to turn 5K into $1 million while also having e-commerce businesses and an alarm business and real estate and property management and all of these different things. I'm like,
how do you
maybe that's the goal. That's the goal, is to be able to have these different brains and have them all operate at the same time.
What do you tell your students about? Are you teaching them swing trading or day trading?
So what's cool is it's the same strategy applied across the board. So what I do for my swing trading is the same thing my uncle taught me for the 5-minute. So it's just a matter of, I tell him, you got to figure out what resonates with you. Like, are you a trader who can hold trades for, a week? Do you have that, like, that grit or that, I guess just that mental capital to where you're not exhausted by the time it's over? Or are you a trader that's like, okay, I got to be done for the day. At the end of the day, like, I have to wipe my hands and be done with my trading. So it's just, when I teach, it's kind of like integrating trading into your life. Do you have a 9-to-5? Do you work from home? Can you commit more time to trading? Do you have to just trade after work? So there's so many variables to figuring out what time frame or what type of trader you want to be.
How many students do you have right now?
Right now I have a Discord community of about 1,000.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. So if someone wants to be a part of your community, like what does that entail?
So my very first start is the Discord community. So it's kind of you getting into the community. You get to see the trades that I place. You get to see my charts. You get to see. It's a great start because it's very low barrier to entry. It's only like $49 a month, and you get to kind of see all my students, what their trading is like, the losses that we're taking. Are we taking them together? Is it are you taking a good loss or a bad loss? And then you get to see the different styles. So you get to see kind of like, you get to take a step back and see, okay, this is what the community looks like as a whole. But then I also do something called an accelerator. And this is only a few times a year, and it's live coaching. So it'll be 21 days of, all right, we're actually going through the strategy. And they'll have a designated coach. So it's one of my previous students that will kind of work one-on-one with these students and be like, okay, what's your lifestyle like? Is day trading going to work for you? Or can you only trade, 2 hours after work? So maybe you have to do the 5-minute time frame. Or are you working from home? And maybe you can, have this computer for work, and then you got this one right over here where you're able to stay in for like 6 hours out of the day. So figuring out kind of the person and the trader as a whole. But as far as education goes, Discord is a great start because you get to see a big picture. All the different traders, all the different, time frames, all the different instruments. Some traders are doing crypto day trading, which is blowing my mind. They're taking my strategy into the crypto markets.
How are they doing?
Some of them are doing great, and some of them are like, you know what, I can't see it. And I'm like, that's fair. I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's been so intimidating to me. But you get to see like a big scope. All the different markets. Some are doing the Forex market, some are doing futures, some are doing stocks, some are doing options too. So it's cool to see students apply what I've taught them with just trends. We're trying to get in on a trend, and when it's no longer trending in that direction, we're trying to get in on the next trend. So it's just kind of like, think of it like following the price. We're trying to just follow what it's doing. But it's fascinating to see my students take what I've taught them and apply it to markets that I have no experience with. Like options, I don't know how they do it, but they do it. Or crypto, I don't know how they do it, but they do it. It's fascinating.
And how much is it is intuition?
There is so much more intuition that's something that I say kind of first and foremost when I'm teaching people. And I think that's maybe why the space, the educational space is so like it's scammy. It's because you can't teach intuition. You can't sell it. And I think if more people understood that it's a matter of if I had you were an example and you're like, okay, I want to get into futures trading. I would have you just commit to one instrument. Like we're going to use corn, for example. I don't know why I keep coming to corn. But if you just watched what corn does for a year, you saw every single day the price movement. When it looks like it's changing directions, does it normally do like a little fake out? It'll kind of snap in one direction and then continue. So if you were to just watch one instrument for a year, you would be so much farther ahead than these people that are looking at hundreds of different charts and they're just trying to copy and paste a strategy on each one, where you would have the edge because you're almost like in sync.
Corn.
Yes, corn.
Yeah.
So I think that plays so much of a role. And I talk about developing relationships with the instruments. And I think the route that my uncle took in trading, luckily it was my only experience and my first experience, but it has such this like, it's a little bit goofy, but it feels like he took like a hippie approach to trading. Like very, what's the word I'm looking for? Holistic, very holistic when it comes to trading, like developing relationships, handling psychology, not taking losses too personally, understanding that you're going to take the losses. Like it just felt very like hippie-like. And I think that's the route that I take is just, I emphasize how important it is to develop relationships with the instruments that you're trading.
And so for your trainings, you have the Discord program. Do you have like steps up to where people can get more access and those type of things? Yeah.
So I do Discord is the very first level. Then the next one is just a pre-recorded course. So that's me. It's like 4 hours and I'm kind of going through same thing my uncle did. We're looking at charts. What direction is this going in? Now we're throwing lines on the charts. And now what do these lines mean for entries and exits? How do we mitigate our risk with these lines? So it's 4 hours of just essentially your generic overview of the lines. And then the tier after that is the accelerator program, which is the live coaching. And then we get to apply that to like real-time market data. So now it's it's so much more tangible. When I go over a chart with you on what happened this week is so different than looking at a pre-recorded course. Because that's, I mean, it's a year old and it's so much harder to see it, you know, applied to just a basic chart. Whereas we get to go through it every day. You're like, oh, this is what price did today. This is where we would have put the lines today. This is what we did yesterday. This is what we're thinking tomorrow. So being able to do it in real time is the kicker. That's the highest.
And so the accelerator course, how much training is that? What does that look like?
It's 21 days.
Okay.
So you just got to commit like you would to class. You got to show up to the Zoom class for 21 days.
And you're teaching that every day?
Yep. So it's live, and I sit down, and we will. First week is psychology. I try to condense what my uncle taught me. We spend a lot more time talking about psychology, but I try to condense it as much as I can. So we spend the first week psychology. I'm trying to get everyone's expectations right. The understanding of taking losses and considering fees and paying your way out of trouble, and understanding that we're trying to remove resentment towards the market and looking at the price as, like, I've been using analogies like Game of Thrones, and I'll call the price, you know, Jon Snow or something. And it's like he's marching north, and if he decides to change his mind, we've got no control over that. And it's heavy on psychology the first week. Then the second week is strategy, drawing the lines. And then the third week, which I think is the most incredible, is applying that to the markets real time every day. And I go through as many different instruments. I go through Forex. I even went through Bitcoin. I go through the futures market and the stock market. So as many different markets as I can, and as many different instruments within the market. And then we try to see how was this strategy applied every day for that last week.
When you say buy your way out of it, what do you mean?
Buy your way out of trouble. So it's essentially like, let's say one of my best analogies is like if you get into an Uber or like a taxi and he starts going the wrong way. Like, at what point are you going to just tell him he needs to turn around? Or are you going to just let him continue in the wrong direction? Regardless, that meter is still running. So the sooner that you can say, you know what, I need to turn around, or you're going the wrong way, the smaller that fee or the smaller that meter is racking up. Or another analogy I think I used was when I went to Tijuana and, you know, you got to pay your way out of trouble. You could either just tip off the guy that pulled you over, or the downside of that is probably going somewhere you don't want to go.
Right. Have you been to TJ?
Yeah, many times.
What were you doing at TJ?
I got a Century card, or was it the Global? It was a Century card.
Yeah, Century.
And so you can pass the border like a lot quicker. And there was this water park in Tijuana that there's
that big
no
slide.
way. Yes, there's no way that would be legal here in the U.S.
Right.
because so many people hit the freaking water so hard.
Yeah.
But that thing was the coolest. I spent my entire summers. I lived in San Diego for a while, and I spent a lot of summers at that water park.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've seen the videos of it. And
they're insane.
I'm a little concerned of getting hurt. You know, I'm a little older now, so you know those.
That's fair.
Those falls don't seem too good. Is it awesome?
Oh, it's a blast. It's a thrill. I've only done it like maybe 3 or 4 times, and it doesn't get easier. It's actually just as scary. When you make it to the top, it doesn't change every time.
What's it like flying?
It happens so quick, and when you're in the air, all you're thinking of is don't belly flop. Don't belly flop. Make sure you're like penciled in. So that's all you can think of when you're in the air.
Wow. Yeah, the thing, I've seen the videos and I actually forgot about it.
Oh yeah. But, dude, it's the coolest. I'm sure it's still around.
Yeah, no, I think it is actually. I was looking probably a year or so ago.
Okay.
Watching, like, gosh, I got to go do that sometime.
Oh, dude, it was a blast. That water park is so fun.
Yeah, it's a little intimidating, but looks fun. What part of San Diego did you live in?
I was in PB.
Okay.
It was the party town.
Yeah.
But I was I was the opposite. I didn't go out, but I was in the party town.
I see. Yeah, I lived in, do you know Coronado Cays?
I know where Coronado is, Coronado Island. Are we thinking?
Yeah, it's part of that.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's a neighborhood that has a bunch of, you have like a boat in your the backyard, but the little area so you can take it out and stuff like that. And,
okay.
We were there for about a year and a half and I loved it.
Okay, then I can imagine as far as like fishing goes in San Diego, were you heavy into fishing? Did you do any free diving, surfing?
No, it was just, we were, because our hospital's in TJ, so it's very close to the border.
Gotcha.
And so it's got, when COVID happened, there was talks of closing the border and there was a lot of, we didn't know what was going to happen. So we decided to go to San Diego instead of, I've got a condo in TJ.
Okay. So cool.
And so we're there for a year and a half, but then things settled and I didn't like having to cross every day because, the wait can be awful.
God, it could be like, 4 hours, sometimes more than that?
Yeah,
oh, yeah. I've sat in a few of those.
Yeah. So, I was like, okay, I'll just stay here in TJ. But no, I love the area. So most people have never been to TJ. What else have you done there?
I was going to ask you, like, there is such a, when I told my family I was going to TJ, they think the whole cartel, they thought I was dead. I was going to be dead as soon as I crossed the border. I'm like, you guys, obviously you've never been.
Right.
Like, I've gone to Caesar's Palace out there. I'll go sometimes to TJ just to get tacos.
Yeah.
Like, I think they don't understand. It's not as crazy.
It's not. Have you ever been to Puerto Nuevo where the lobster is?
No, I don't think so.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's about 45 minutes south of the border.
Okay,
so it's it's not TJ, it's technically, it's Puerto Nuevo.
Okay,
but they have a lobster village. There's probably 30, 40 lobster restaurants.
What? Maybe I have. I think I have actually. I did a trip to, I've gone down to Rosarito. I've gone down to, did I say that right? Or is it Rosarito?
Rosarito.
Okay. I've gone down to San Quintin pretty far. I mean, I've done a lot of road trips down Baja, California. Yeah. But I think I have stopped at some. I feel like it was a big deal. We all went and we had to have different types of lobster, and it was all over the table. I feel like I remember that. There was a lot of drinking involved too, but I think I might have been there.
That place is awesome. I try to go every month. I'm like, nice. I gotta have a Puerto Nuevo night every month. But a lot of people are afraid of it. And TJ, it's just like any city. It's got good parts and bad parts.
Yeah.
And we've been there for almost 9 years. August 15th it'll be 9 years. So
wow, so neat. Okay.
Yeah, it's not as bad as they like to say.
Oh my gosh, no, not at all.
So what made you pick Nashville?
I didn't get to pick Nashville actually. Okay. So my family picked Nashville.
Oh.
And this has been something I've been struggling with because I've been kind of hopping all over the place. I tried San Diego for a while, tried LA for a while, Jacksonville. I even tried Miami for a while, and I'm like, what do I want to do? But it always comes back to family. Like, I want to see my nieces, I want to see my sisters and my mom, and they're out here in Nashville. They picked Nashville. So my mom moved out here, I don't know exactly. I think it was almost 13 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
And my sisters grew up here. So I grew up in Jacksonville, or at least I feel like my upbringing was in Jacksonville. But they got to grow up here. So I didn't get to pick it. But if I want to pick family, it's Nashville.
There you go. So your sister that started with you, is she still trading?
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
No, And I was just talking about this the other day. It's funny. We took totally different routes. And there was even a time where I could have taken a different route too. I didn't take it, even after that year of my uncle teaching me, I still wanted to make it as a professional athlete. And I still took cycling more seriously, and trading didn't seem as much of a priority. And my sister wanted to make it as a singer. And she ended up pursuing that wholeheartedly. Nice. And trading fell off. Like, after that year, she tried to continue the sim trading. But I think when it came to having to actually set up a live account and put money in there, she was like, I can't do this.
Yeah. What does your sister do now?
She's a singer.
Oh, nice.
She's living in Hawaii. She made it on The Voice, and she is actually trying this new genre, and I'm totally into it. It's a combination of reggae and country. So I'm like, all
What's
day.
What's it called?
I think she's called it Craigie.
That's funny.
Yeah. She actually trademarked this term, chi-ha, and it's the funniest thing. There's this saying in Hawaii, I think it's, what is it? Chihu, and yeehaw. She's combining the term. She's living it up in Hawaii. She's loving it.
What part of Hawaii is she living in?
She was on the Big Island for a while, in Oahu, and now she just moved back to the Big Island.
Oh, nice. Yeah. We've got some friends out there.
Oh my God,
that are
so cool.
surfers that have come down for stem cells and those type of things.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I've got a good group. Actually, my business partner had a store in Hawaii as well. We were both from the fight world. So Scotty owned something called OTM Fight Shops. And he had, I don't know how many shops, probably 12, 15 shops around the world. And Hawaii was one of the places. So
now, when we say fight, is it like UFC? Is it boxing?
Yeah, mixed martial arts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so my gym was called Nashville MMA. I started when I was 20.
Way cool.
It was at one point the largest mixed martial arts gym in the country.
Really? That's fascinating.
Yeah,
okay.
It was cool. And that was my whole life. And then I sold everything in 2011 and 2012.
Okay.
We had a clothing line as well. It's called Gameness. We were the largest supplier of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu martial arts uniforms in the world.
Whoa, okay.
And so sold those, and then, kind of went in a different direction.
Okay.
But, yeah, mixed martial arts. We actually, we just partnered with the UFC. We're the official stem cell provider of the UFC. So,
oh my gosh, whoa. That is, of course, you would find some combination to fit that in. That is the coolest thing ever. And I'm trying to do the same, figuring out how I can combine these things that I'm really good at so that I can have those different brains and make it all operate at the same time. That's so fascinating.
No, it's cool. It kind of went full circle. It's like, we'd been out of the sport. Well, I'd been out for, 24, 12 years.
Okay.
And so finally coming back and partnering with the UFC, we still got a bunch of friends that are fighters and stuff. So we were watching, but I definitely wasn't very involved at all.
Okay.
And, but now, we're flying, tonight, or actually when the show's done, we'll be flying to Vegas for the UFC.
Oh my God. So neat.
Yeah.
So cool. Okay.
We go a lot. What else are you passionate about?
I'm still passionate about cycling, even though I did the same thing. I took a break like you. I still watch it and I love it. I haven't been on my bike in like a year. I think I got to figure out how to make it work here in Nashville. It's not as cycling friendly as LA or San Diego. So I want to feel safe. And I'm getting older too. And it seems less appealing to get on the road with other cars and put myself at risk. Whereas, before I was a bike messenger in LA, I was like, let's risk it for the biscuit. You know what I'm saying? Why not? But I got to find my way in the cycling world out here. But I'm passionate about cycling, special needs, and I would say hot yoga are like these 3 other tiers that I'm into.
Oh, nice. Are you doing hot yoga in Nashville?
Yeah.
Where are you doing it at?
Nashville Yoga Co. has been one of my favorites. I've found some that are like, I want to be questioning my life after each class. Yep. So like, I don't want it to be too easy, and I want it to be like incredibly hot.
You want to question your life every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
Yep, without a doubt.
That's cool. Yeah, my girlfriend does it here in East Nashville, but she's mentioned that some places are a lot hotter than others.
Oh yeah. And it's funny because it's just, they're all labeled hot yoga, but then you can go into an easy hot yoga or you might pass out hot yoga.
Right. Yeah. I did it a couple times. I thought it was awesome.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, they told me this, and like I said, I come from a fighting background, and I don't care what people think. I really don't. I've had the tough trainings. I've been through hell, and et cetera. And I've been to like 3 classes, and one of the classes, I was sore, and they said you could just lay there.
Yeah.
And I just laid there the whole class.
Oh my God. Yes. And sometimes you have no choice.
it was pretty awesome. So I wanted to kind of get back into it, but do more classes. I wasn't really into it, but do more classes. But I make excuses on, I'm too busy or this or that.
Yeah.
Find
fair.
those excuses in life.
It happens.
So in Nashville, you're possibly looking at buying some real estate. What are some other goals here?
I would say, it's more of just like I wanna leave some sort of print on Nashville.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that looks like yet, but I can only see, okay, what could I do for someone in my position to make things a little bit better? The fact that I am doing a local podcast right now is the coolest thing ever.
Cool.
Like, we got to have more. Maybe I'm not making connections, or maybe I need to find a way to make it easier for people in Nashville to make connections like this. But I'm very antisocial, and so I'm not like the person that's out all the time. So I'm trying to figure out, how can I make my print on Nashville or make something a little bit better or easier. And I want Nashville to be like, not necessarily the next LA or the next Miami, but I want it to be like, I just got such a cool vision for Nashville.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it looks like, but I know I got at least a path. I don't know how narrow we're gonna get, but all I can think of is like, okay, what can I do for myself that would make it a little bit easier for people in my position?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the idea, but I don't quite know yet. We're still figuring it out.
What do you like to do for fun around here?
Hang out with family.
Yeah.
Family.
Not Broadway?
Oh my God. That ain't me. That ain't me.
Yeah.
I don't have much experience on Broadway at all. I think my sisters tried to take me maybe like 2 times, and I was like, okay, this is cool. I mean, I guess it's like a initiation. You gotta try Broadway at least a few times.
To me, it used to be much more fun.
Really?
Before all the people
Okay, that's fair.
came. I mean, Broadway, when I was growing up in high school and stuff, was nothing. It was like I think some sex shops, and it was like, it was like trashy.
Yeah, okay.
I guess now it's a little trashy in different ways, but
in different ways.
It was it was a certain type of trash per se. And Second Avenue was the big street, and Second Avenue is where the bomb went off. So it's not really being you can't really use Second Avenue anymore. Did you hear about the bomb a couple years ago?
No.
Yeah. So on Christmas Eve of 2021, I believe it was, maybe 2020.
Oh, I did hear about this.
There was a bomb that went off. And
yes, I did.
You can ride down there, and they're still on the right side going north. I mean, just giant chunks, not just a little bit of a chunk, but giant chunks of building taken out. They haven't they haven't anything with it.
I remember hearing about that, and I don't know why that seemed so long ago, but it wasn't that long ago at all.
No, it wasn't.
But wow.
Yeah, it shook the city. And what's wild about that is across the street from the historic buildings that were taken out is the AT&T building, but it houses, from my understanding, the CIA, the FBI, communications. And so whoever did that tried to take out the communications, and that's a bomb-proof building. So it bounced off the building and took out the other side of the block.
Whoa. Yeah. This makes so much sense. I must not have done enough research or any research at all, but whoa. Yeah. It just blew my mind.
Well, it wasn't even, and a lot of people forget about it because it was a big story for like a day.
Yeah. What happened? It went away.
It just went away.
It was weird.
And so, but it's still taken out. I was actually talking to the mayor about it, and he was saying that the reason they haven't rebuilt it is because of the insurance. There's so many fights with the insurance companies not wanting to do certain things and and all of that. And I feel bad for the people that live there.
Oh, yeah.
Thankfully, nobody died. And you've got to go see it. I mean, you really have to see it because it's you can't really explain it with words how much damage and destruction. And you just got to take it in. But they haven't fixed it yet.
Insane.
So so Second Avenue though used to be where we would all hang out.
Okay.
And Broadway wasn't a thing. And then kind of the evolution of the city, the entertainment part of the city of the last 25 years. So 25 years ago, country music wasn't, in, let's say, I say younger demographic. I'm not young anymore, but in the younger demographic, it wasn't cool for the most part. And a place called Tin Roof on Demumbrian started having live music that was geared more towards younger people, 21 to 35 years old that wanted to go to the bars. And in many ways, a lot sparked from that. I mean, you still had Tootsies and stuff on Broadway, but, then Dan McGinnis opened on the corner. That was actually my restaurant. I had that for 15 years with a few partners. And so there was Tin Roof, Dan McGinnis. That's right where the roundabout is. And then things in between, started opening up. And so as the music started, being cool, like being marketed to a younger group, more and more people started going to Broadway. And Broadway started, Steve Smith and that crew kind of started to really, I don't want to say market to it, but more people were going to them. And they've got awesome bars on Broadway. I mean, I love Tootsie still. It's gotten big, but I mean, and so we used to go, we'd go into the front of Tootsie's and then go out the back and then go into the back of the stage and go out the front. And you just, have this path that you would take. And so for a number of years, it was so much fun because there wasn't a million people.
Yes.
Now, I got to wait in line to get in Tootsie's unless BT is letting me in. I don't know all the bouncers and all that stuff. But back in the day, I could just literally walk in everywhere, have a good time, walk out, and it was a lot of fun.
I mean, that's what you think the difference is? Just simply the volume of people, or do you think it's also the different types of bars or the?
Well, that's all happened as well, but the volume of people, the bars that I used to like to go to, not that I don't like to go. I'm a redneck at heart, so I still like to go into Tootsie's and. I don't really drink Bud Light anymore, but I drink a Coors Light or whatever, and just have a good time down there. But yeah, I prefer to go on off days where it's not a lot of people. But yeah, no, I mean, I'll never stop actually loving that. So Broadway's not as fun anymore, and it's a lot to deal with, but it's still every now and then. You grew up here, so it's still fun to me. Yeah. So the plans in Nashville, you're not exactly, or rather, kind of bringing the city together in a way. Do you have any plans with doing trading education in the city?
Oh, that would be so cool. Oh, that'd be so cool. Something in person would be insane. I have one student that's local, and we're meeting up at a coffee shop. And I'm like, all right, let's do it.
Nice.
Any opportunity I can have in person is just, it's so different. It's it's tangible. It actually... I think the fact that my uncle was, right next to me, I can almost attribute my success to that because it's it's a real life person. Things are just so different when it's virtual. The ability to to fully believe something when it's in the internet or just on the internet versus someone that's right here next to you, it's just different. You're able to commit. You're able to believe. You can see the vision a little bit better. I think just in person is so much better. So yeah, I think I want to try like my very first in-person event. And if that's, if I had to fly people into Nashville, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But trying to get people in Nashville into the space, like that'd be so cool to have, Nashville be like one of the finance hubs of like
cool.
most of the crypto traders or most of the like.
Well, kind of is for crypto.
Yeah.
I mean, because Bitcoin Magazine's out of Nashville.
Okay, and I heard they're doing
the conference here next month.
Yes, I'm going to that.
Good,
for sure.
yeah, that'd be a good place to meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's actually got a really cool community locally.
It must be so different. Crypto must be a just completely different world. Like the fact that I'm very heavy into the finance industry, but it's like crypto and futures are just, they don't know each other.
Yeah, you got to check it out because I mean, crypto is interesting because you have the Bitcoin people. That the Bitcoin maxis that think it's only Bitcoin and everything else they call shitcoins.
Okay, so, yes, I've heard that a few times.
And I mean, I don't necessarily. I mean, I'm a huge Bitcoin fan. I believe it can change the world, but I also think that there's some utility to some of these other tokens as well. So I still like my Ethereum.
Yes, I think that was actually the one that seems a little bit less intimidating for me to get into.
Yeah,
like if I start, I feel like. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Just.
I love Ethereum. Yeah, I buy every week.
All right, then.
I bought every week for a long time.
And that's the game plan. So I'm not going to try to do get into crypto and try to trade it like I do now. Like I just it's too intimidating to think of day trading crypto or even maybe swing trading crypto. Yeah. Like my idea is to try to use my trend lines for at least a good entry, but then just continue to stack.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
that makes sense. I mean, like I said, I celebrate when crypto goes down or when Bitcoin goes down. I'm like, yes.
Oh, I'm looking at this setup on Ethereum right now that is just too perfect. If you look at the chart, I think we've got like 3 or 4 touch points on a downward trend line and we're still heading down. Once we get that break, I'm thinking this is it. We're doing it finally.
It's going to fly. Yeah, I mean, because the thing about crypto, are you familiar with the halving event and the kind of the 4-year cycle? Okay, so every 4 years in Bitcoin, you have what's called a halving event.
Okay.
To where the amount of Bitcoin that you can mine is cut in half.
Yeah.
So it naturally drives the price up because the cost to mine the same amount of Bitcoin doubles.
Oh yeah.
And so you can pretty much time it. I look at it in a 4-year cycle.
Okay,
so generally about 4 to 5 months after the halving event, Bitcoin starts to do its run.
Okay.
And it's really, once you see it, you'll understand it way better than me too.
Okay.
You're in the charts, but that's why I say it's very consistent.
Yeah.
So then you have a crypto winter, and so for instance, this drop, I was expecting it to drop. The last 2 times it had dropped 80% from all-time high.
Okay.
So I was expecting or hoping that Bitcoin would get down to like 11,000.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I mean, I was still placing my weekly buys.
Okay.
But I didn't do a big buy at 15, which is as low as it got basically.
Yeah.
But and it didn't drop as much. But if you look at inflation, that had something to do with it because I think the inflation kind of caused it to not drop as much as
I see. Okay. I can see that.
I was hoping.
Yeah.
But the last 3 times it has dropped about 80%.
Okay.
And so you have that crypto winter, and then you have a buildup generally before the halving. Now this time, you had the ETFs happen.
Yeah.
So you have now BlackRock and all of the different Bitcoin ETFs that were made legal in January. So you hit all-time high before the halving event. So we're kind of in a new world right now. We don't know what that means.
True.
But I would expect Bitcoin by the end of the year to be at least 100,000. At least 100,000. But it wouldn't shock me. I think Bitcoin's gonna be 1 million plus in the next 10 years.
Dude, it's so cool. Yeah. Oh
I'm
my
a
God.
huge fan. And a lot of people are afraid of it and call it volatile. I'm like,
I know. That is why I've been trading for 9 years and still haven't gotten into it yet. Like, are you kidding me? It's because everyone has put that label on it. I'm like, no. God, if I could have just not listened to everyone else.
Oh yeah, I mean, think about if you would have bought 9 years ago.
Oh well, yeah.
So that would be 2015. Yeah, you could have got in for maybe $500 a coin.
Oh my God, wild.
And so, I mean, and then the same thing happened. It popped to 19,800 or so, and then had this big drop, and it got down to about 3,000, and then had another big run up to 69.5, and then it dropped to 15, and now you have another run up to where it got up to 73, broke all time high before the halving event, which is crazy, and but yeah, I mean, I think it's just gonna rock. And,
that gets me so excited.
Yeah.
Of course, of all years, I'm like, okay, this is the one.
This
finally.
is the year. Yeah. Well, you got to be able to, sell at the, when you think it's hit its peak before the cycle starts again.
Yeah.
If you believe in that cycle. Which I really want you to look at the charts. Like I said, you'll understand it way better than me.
Yeah.
That's what you do. But like, it's so simple. I can understand it.
Oh yeah, dude. That is my theme here when it comes to trading. That it is so much more simple than people think it is.
Yeah, and I'm curious. So you're saying that it's looking like ETH is getting ready to have a nice pop.
Yep, and that'll be my first entry.
Oh, good.
So I'm just waiting on it. We're still pulling down. We're still coming down lower. But I've been able to simply just by looking at the chart and draw my little LOCs on it, my lines. I've been able to see this downward trend line, and I think we've got like maybe 4 touch points where it's hit this line, fell off, hit this line, fell off, hit this line, and right now we're in the fall off. But as soon as we break that line, I'm like, okay, that's what gives me my confirmation or my confidence to be like, okay, we're doing this. And I even have found areas to where it looks kind of like this fan of downward trend lines. So these are just even more opportunities to just stack, to just continue to get in. So I'm actually excited that we've got this pullback because I do better when we get the change. Finally, when we get like the first sign of ramping up. So I never will see if I can catch the bottom because that's not my strategy. And I don't know. Some people will try to find like these similar lows that it's hit at and try to get at that same low. But I'm just trying to find the first sign of the break of the trend.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, what's crazy about Bitcoin, like the last run, and Ethereum's in many ways just like it. Ethereum goes up when Bitcoin goes up. It's a little behind it. But I believe it was 25% drops to the last all-time high.
Yeah.
So it had like, it was like I think it was 8 of them. Don't quote me on that, but
25% drops.
Yeah, so it dropped, and people are like, it's over, and then it pops back up.
Yes.
And so that's volatile.
Yeah,
I understand that. But if you look at it big picture, long term, so yeah, I think you'll see if you get into crypto, like you got to have diamond hands.
Yeah,
You got to have diamond hands.
Yes, totally, I get that. And I think that's what's kind of maybe giving me like my edge is just knowing that there is ebb and flow and giving it enough wiggle room is what my uncle calls it. Like, absolutely, I am fully aware. Like, there's going to be some snapping in either direction.
Yeah.
So that type of volatility, that part I get. Absolutely.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how you like it.
I know, I'm excited.
If you could crack the code, I mean, I'm not a trader like that by any means. I'm not a trader at all. But if I was reincarnated or something, maybe I would come back as a crypto trader because I think it'd be really exciting.
Oh my God, yeah.
If you can get into it now. I mean, and just think, if Bitcoin is digital gold, that would put about a $12 trillion market.
Yeah.
And so that'd be about 650,000 per Bitcoin. And so it has a lot. If it is that, it has a long way to go.
Yeah, true. But I can see the vision. I mean, I actually trade gold.
Yeah. Oh, right.
And it's just, and I remember when we got this weird eerie feeling that everyone was like, okay, the crash is coming, the recession is coming. And I mean, I was prepared. I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm simply just looking at charts ready for it to happen. It never happened. Still hasn't happened. And I'm like, what is going on? I still get this
What
weird.
hasn't happened with gold?
Even just the indexes, the S&P, everyone's still talking about this crash that's going to happen.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And so everyone was actually buying gold.
Yeah.
And I was just trading gold. It still has created, even higher highs. It's still breaking all-time highs. And I'm just like, if I could see Bitcoin in the same sense that I see gold, it's there.
Then you get it. Why don't you think the market has crashed yet? Because you're right.
Gosh.
I thought it was going to crash a long time ago as well.
I know. Oh, it's to be honest, it's eerie at this point because we've been like it's been shoved down our throats that it's going to happen, and like the news and everyone not believing that it can still go even higher, even though interest rates are just insane and like nothing's adding up. And it's just I can't explain it any other way that it's just like it's an eerie feeling to continue to see like the indices create higher highs and higher highs.
Yeah.
And it's giving me a bias for sure. Like I can't get myself to place any buy orders in any of the indexes. I can't do it. It's so hard.
Yeah.
Because everyone's just saying there's going to be this crash. And it's like when you see, you're like, there's no possible way it could go higher. Yeah. And then it does.
And it still does.
It's
almost at 40. Well, what do you think about AI in trading? Are you using any of those tools?
This is a great question. I thought it was going to be incredible. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's going to be this edge. You could almost automate trading with AI. But I feel like there is still something that, and this goes back to the intuition we were talking about. And I think this is why it's probably got a long way to go, a much longer way than we think to go. Understanding like gut feelings and knowing when, even though like, let's say a computer can see a setup and they're going to take the setup, but a human can see a setup, everything looks A+, but not take it. They could pass up on it.
Yeah.
Or they could see a setup and go in double than they're used to, where the AI or the computer or the system will just continue to do the same thing. A plus B equals C every time. Whereas the human aspect to it, there's so much more of an edge, like being able to go heavier in certain setups, being able to pass up on setups, maybe even take not an A plus setup, maybe a B plus setup. So there's just, I think the human aspect of it still has that edge versus the AI version. But I think there's potential. I just think we're a lot farther than we think.
Really? So are there any reasonably good programs right now that are AI training programs?
Not that I know of, as far as just simply like an automated, like an indicator that would throw on like entries. There is this, I don't have much experience, but I'm seeing other traders in the space that are kind of at my level that are doing these things called bots, and it's similar. It's kind of same situation, and they're showing returns. I'm skeptical, so I'm not sure, but I would like to do a little bit more research on it. Maybe just try it myself and see.
Yeah, I mean, because with AI, it's only as good as the information that's put into it. So, like in healthcare, for instance, people think AI is going to completely transform healthcare. In certain ways, it can help, but you're limited to the amount of correct information put in the system. And so, for instance, doctors, when they write their medical records, they're not all speaking the same language.
Oh.
And so, when you enter those data points into the AI, it doesn't know what to do with it because it'll spit out the wrong information. So AI is really just, it's only as good as the accuracy of the information that's put in it. But I thought, for a while, I'm like, wow, with trading, if you can put accurate information to train the system in how to think, I mean, you could train it to trade just like you mechanically.
Right.
And it'll do that on a consistent basis. So I'm surprised nobody's actually taken that. And
I know. And I think it's the same concept though. So when you say that, like, we'll say 3 different doctors put in their diagnosis or their
diagnosis.
Yeah. But and it's similar, but somehow all 3 of them came up with a different diagnosis. And I think that's kind of the same thing with trading. You could look at 3 different setups, and one trader might think a buy, one might think a sell. Like, how is that? But it's the trader, it's the information that they're given. So I think it's the same exact concept, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, but you could train it on how you think.
Okay, fair, fair.
And that
so
wouldn't
take
be
those
as
3 out of the
for it. And so, I mean, I would love to have AI trade for me. That'd be great.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, are you kidding me? I mean, the amount it would take a lot of stress off the table.
Right.
So much.
What are some of the gains that you've seen some of your students get?
Oh man, I think I'm excited to see when my students start passing me up. I'm already seeing them. I'm not sure percentage wise, but I'm seeing, and I try to promote that. I try to promote, taking the dollar amounts off, because it makes it tricky for everyone to see, okay, but I've only got this much in my account, and I see this guy making $5,000. But there's a lot of posts of like, it's a lot of dollar amounts, but it's fascinating to see The ones that are doing the best, it's the coolest to see students that come to me that don't know anything prior, and to see them make the transition from sim to live, and then to see them actually making money is just the coolest thing ever. And it's the ones that committed the most amount of time to the sim trading, and the ones that decided to keep their watch list small. So one of my best students right now, he's on Discord, and he decided to commit to platinum, and he also decided to commit to the 4-hour time frame as well, which is what I'm doing now. And he spent months sim trading. Like, he just wasn't ready yet. He's like, nope, I want to truly develop this relationship with platinum.
Sure.
And
what is platinum? Sorry to
platinum. So that's what it's like: gold, silver, oil.
Platinum.
Platinum. Okay, yeah. That's actually what I've been trading this year, and it has blown my mind. Platinum is like, whoa, what? It's just so cool. You would think you'd think gold would be this crazy thing to get into to trade. It's just, I don't know how I found my way to platinum. I really don't. There's copper. Copper has some good price action. Silver and gold, they move similarly. And then platinum will do the complete opposite of what those two are doing. And but the way that platinum moves as far as like respecting trends and like clean price action, it truly is. And it's the coolest thing ever. Crude oil has been a tricky one for me. So those have been the two that I've been trading for the past a long time. I'd say crude oil, probably more than 5 years of experience. But it's so fascinating to, when you really do develop a relationship with an instrument, it's the coolest thing ever. You feel passionate about it. Like, I love crude oil and I love platinum, and it's cool to see like how crude oil will be non-reactive to like Fed days or like your normal news that comes out. But obviously when world events happen, crude oil is crazy. But these are some things that, like, it's not a planned news day.
Sure.
Like, Ukraine stuff. Oil was insane. Or even just the most recent current events that happened in, I believe it was Iran. Like, it's just, oil will make insane moves.
Yep.
And then platinum, also very non-reactive to news, but very clean price action. And it just feels like you can find your edge in platinum. And then sometimes when platinum doesn't, when it's not as respectful, I'm like, I'll take it all day. Go ahead, do what you need to do, because I know, once you're done consolidating or doing whatever you're doing, faking out, like, we're gonna get that clean price action very soon.
So with crude oil, during the pandemic, it dropped.
Oh my God!
It went to almost zero, right?
It went to negative, I think 20 or 40.
So if I would have purchased, say, $100,000 at negative, would I, like, is that how that would have worked?
I truly tried, and I don't know how the brokerages made it work. My broker said, They didn't let me. I hit the sell button. I was like, let's go. My setup was there. I remember I was watching it on my phone as it was happening, and I'm like, buy. I had this immense sense of panic. Yeah. Well, I thought, yes, the setup was there. Yeah. And I thought, like, the apocalypse was going to happen. I'm like, this can't be good. Yeah. There is no way. This has got to be awful. And the fact that, like, it ended up not being that crazy, and, like, that's just something we're talking about now. Oh yeah, crude oil fell to negative 40. How does that even happen? I don't know. But my brokerage didn't let me take any positions. So I'd be fascinated. I heard some stories on, like, these dudes that made millions upon, I'm sure, hundreds of millions, like these group of like 5 dudes that were just like somehow able to capitalize on it. But I'm not sure how brokerages were able to make that happen. Yeah, I remember seeing it dropping, and I don't have any stocks or anything like that. So I was just like, boy, if I could just buy oil right now. You're like, right, yeah. And I was kind of wondering what happened with that. So they wouldn't let you buy in the middle of that. When did they open the market back up for that? How long did I think by that point I didn't see when I could get into another position until like probably a week from that day. I got that like analysis paralysis of like, hey, well, since I couldn't get in then, that was such an insane move. I have no idea. I got no idea what could happen. What's gonna happen? So yeah. So I didn't even attempt to get in, but I believe I started trading again like maybe a week or 2 after. Yeah. So you were trading through the pandemic? Yeah. What was that like? It was very fun. It was fun. I ended up finding my favorite stock, which was Tesla. I had so much fun with Tesla. Nice. Tesla and Roku were a lot of fun during the pandemic. Platinum, I remember I traded it and I did not have a love for it. I had a distaste for it, actually. It was just not, it wasn't working for me. Crude oil was a blast. A lot of movement, a lot of volatility in the best way. And so yeah, dude, the pandemic that's where a lot of people got into trading, actually. Yep. So many people. Yep. It makes sense. I think the only downside is it was so easy to trade during the pandemic that when market conditions changed, everyone was like losing everything they've made. And they're like, what happened? Huh. And it's just market conditions got real tricky.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened during the pandemic that I didn't expect, with the economy. I mean, I mean, to me, it was obvious if you print $6 trillion, you're going to cause inflation. And the fact that the whole system didn't just collapse, the stock market.
I know.
Right now, with as bad as the economy is, well, why is the stock market at 39,000?
I know. I'm in the same. There's just such an eerie feeling. It's just some things. It's confusing.
Something doesn't make sense.
No, it's not right.
Yeah. I wonder if somehow the AI is propping everything up and we don't know it.
You know what? I wouldn't even doubt it for a second.
Go down a conspiracy rabbit hole.
We could.
Yeah, we're waiting for the Anunnaki to come out of the ocean now.
All right.
No, it's been wild because, I mean, even if you would have bought 4 years ago, it's still bounced back in some of the worst economic times that we've had.
I know.
I mean, Main Street feels it. Everybody on the street feels the pain, but those that are doing well are really, seem to be doing pretty well. So it's kind of sad in that way. You know, inflation is a tax on the poor. And, I grew up with not a lot of money. And so, if prices went up 20%, 25% for my family when I was growing up, it would have crushed them.
Yeah.
So, something doesn't make sense, but that's for another podcast.
Fair.
Well, Tori, it's great talking to you. Anything you want to say in closing?
The fact that I am doing this local, I want to reiterate again, is the coolest thing ever. And I want to do more of these. And I think making connections with other people in, the space, the podcast space, the finance space, the entrepreneurial space is absolutely what I want to do. So finding more Nashville natives out here to connect with is a goal of mine. And we've already checked the first one off.
Awesome. Well, I'll introduce you to some of my friends as well here in the city.
Awesome. So I appreciate
glad you're here. Thank you, Tori.
Thanks for having me.